My family burst into laughter when I arrived alone at my sister's wedding. That is one of those moments in life that splits you in two. Instances that divide your existence into a before and an after. For me, that moment arrived on a Saturday in June, when I crossed the doors of the San Miguel Church dressed in an elegant black suit, alone, with my head held high, and I heard something I will never be able to erase from my memory, the laughter of my own family. Cruel, mocking, merciless laughter. Laughter that said more than 1,000 words about what I truly meant to them. But this story does not begin that day. This story begins 32 years earlier, when I came into the world and unknowingly planted the seed of my own invisibility. My name is Carolina Mendez. I am 32 years old, and for most of my life I believed that family love was something conditional, something you had to earn with every perfect action, with every sacrifice, with every moment you made yourself smaller, so others could shine brighter. I thought that was normal. I thought all families worked like that. I was wrong. I was born on a rainy Tuesday in October in Mexico City. My mother tells me it was a difficult birth, 24 hours of labor that nearly ended her. She always reminds me, always, as if it were my fault to have caused so much pain from the first moment of my existence. "You've given me trouble since the day you were born," she used to say when I did something that bothered her. And believe me, everything bothered her. My father, Roberto Mendez, worked as an accountant at a medium-sized company in the city. He was a quiet man, a man of few words, who preferred to hide behind his newspapers and his accounts rather than face the conflicts of his home. My mother, Patricia, was a housewife. She dedicated herself to keeping our 3-bedroom house spotless, to cooking elaborate meals, to making sure the neighbors thought we had the perfect family. For 3 years I was an only child, 3 years in which I suppose I received attention, though I don't remember it that way. My earliest memories are blurry, fragmented. A little girl playing alone in her room, a girl who was taught not to make noise, not to be a bother, to be good. But everything changed when she arrived. Daniela Mendez was born when I was 3 years old, and with her arrival, my world crumbled without me having the words to express it. I remember being at the hospital holding my grandmother's hand, looking through the glass of the nursery room. There was my sister, wrapped in a pink blanket, her face wrinkled and red like a newborn's. My grandmother squeezed my hand with excitement. "Look, Carolina, your little sister, isn't she beautiful?" I just saw a crying baby. I didn't understand why everyone looked at her with those shining eyes of adoration. I didn't understand why my mother, who had barely wanted to hug me when we entered the hospital, now held that baby as if she were the most precious thing in the universe. "You're going to take care of your sister, right, Carolina?" my mother asked me when they finally let me into her room. "You're going to be a good big sister." I nodded, because I didn't know I could say no. Because at 3 years old, I was already learning that my job was to please, to obey, to be invisible. The first years with Daniela were confusing. I didn't understand why when I cried I was sent to my room to calm down alone. But when Daniela cried, my mother ran to console her. I didn't understand why my drawings ended up in the trash. But Daniela's scribbles were framed in the living room. I didn't understand why my achievements were expected. But every little advance from Daniela was cause for celebration. "She's younger," my father explained when I asked. "She needs more attention. You're a big girl now." I was 6 years old. How was that being big? School became my refuge. There, at least for a few hours, no one compared me to Daniela. There I could just be Carolina. I became an exemplary student. I got perfect scores in everything. Teachers held me up as an example. I won reading contests, math contests, science contests. Every time I brought a diploma home, my mother looked at it with indifference. "Very good, Carolina. Put it in your room," and she would go back to playing with Daniela, to combing her hair, to telling her stories. When Daniela started school, everything intensified. She was charismatic in a way I never was. She made friends instantly. Teachers adored her, not for her grades, which were mediocre at best, but for her personality. For that light she seemed to radiate. "Your sister is a ray of sunshine," my mother would tell me proudly. "She lights up everything around her." And what was I? The moon? The shadow? She never said it, but the message was clear. My 10th birthday is a memory that haunts me even now. More than 20 years later, I had dreamed of that party for months. My parents had promised to celebrate in the backyard. We would invite my classmates. There would be a big chocolate cake, my favorite, games, music, a piñata, everything a 10-year-old girl could wish for. I spent weeks planning every detail. I made the invitations by hand with bright colors and glitter. I practiced the songs we would sing. I even helped my mother clean the yard, pulling weeds under the scorching sun because I wanted everything to be perfect. 2 days before my birthday, Daniela woke up with a fever, 38 degrees. A simple cold. The pediatrician said it wasn't serious. Rest, fluids, and she'd be fine in a few days. But my mother went into panic mode, as always when it concerned Daniela. That night, my mother came into my room. I was on my bed going over the guest list for the 100th time, making sure I hadn't forgotten anyone. "Carolina, sweetheart," she began, and by her tone I knew what was coming. "We need to talk about your party." "What's wrong?" I asked, though I already felt the knot forming in my stomach. "Your sister is very delicate. Her fever isn't going down. The doctor says she needs absolute rest. We can't have a party with noise with children running around. It wouldn't be good for her." But it's my birthday," I whispered, feeling tears begin to sting my eyes. "You promised. And I'm very sorry, really. But your sister is sick. I'm sure you understand. You're the big sister. You're mature. Daniela needs you." "And what about me?" The words came out before I could stop them. "Don't I matter?" "Of course you matter," my mother sighed, as if I were being difficult. "But this isn't about you right now. We'll do something small, just the 4 of us, and next year you'll have a big party. I promise." My mother's promises never meant anything. There was no party. Not big, not small. On my birthday, I spent the day locked in my room, with strict instructions not to make noise, so I wouldn't wake Daniela, who was sleeping peacefully in the next room. My mother spent the entire day taking care of her, bringing her tea, changing the cold compresses on her forehead, reading her stories in a low voice. My father arrived after 9 at night. He brought a single-serving cupcake from the bakery on the corner. It wasn't even chocolate. "Happy birthday, daughter," he said, giving me a mechanical kiss on the forehead. "Sorry I'm late. Work was heavy. Next year we'll celebrate big, okay?" I blew out the candle alone, sitting at the kitchen counter, while I listened to my mother singing a lullaby to Daniela. Tears fell onto the cheap cake, mixing with the frosting. I ate every bite because I knew if I didn't, my mother would scold me for wasting food. That night, lying in my bed in the dark, I made a decision. If I couldn't be loved for being myself, I would be loved for being perfect. I would be the best daughter, the best student, the best sister. I would do everything right. And then finally, they would see me. I was so wrong. The following years were a constant repetition of the same pattern. My elementary school graduation coincided with a children's beauty pageant Daniela was in. My parents went to the pageant. To my graduation they arrived late, when everything was already over. They found me waiting alone on the school steps, clutching my diploma. "We're sorry, daughter," my father said. "The pageant ran longer than planned. But you did well, right? You always do well." Yes, I always did well, and precisely because of that, it didn't matter. In middle school, I threw myself into my studies with an obsession I now recognize as unhealthy. I slept 4 or 5 hours a night. I studied until my head hurt. I participated in every club, every competition, every opportunity to excel. I won the state math contest. The news was in the local paper. My photo, my name, an entire article about my achievement. I came home that day radiant, holding the newspaper to my chest like a treasure. "Mom, Dad, look, I'm in the paper." My mother barely looked up from where she was helping Daniela with her homework. "Very good, Carolina. We knew you could do it." "Daniela, focus. This multiplication is wrong." My father gave me a pat on the shoulder. "Well done, daughter. Your mother and I are proud. Put the newspaper in your room, okay? We don't want it to get dirty." I put it in my room, along with all the other diplomas, medals and awards no one ever celebrated. 2 weeks later, Daniela was chosen as princess of her class for the school festival. She hadn't won anything. She had just been chosen by the kids in her class because she was pretty and popular. My mother threw a party. She invited the whole family. She bought a huge cake. She decorated the house with balloons and ribbons. "My princess," she proclaimed, hugging Daniela. "I always knew you were special." I helped serve the food. No one noticed I wasn't smiling. No one noticed the tears I held back all night. No one noticed when I slipped away to my room and cried myself to sleep. High school was more of the same. I studied, got perfect grades, won contests. Daniela went out with friends, had boyfriends, was popular. Guess which one of us got more attention? My high school graduation fell in the same week Daniela was chosen queen of her graduating class in middle school. There was a special ceremony for her. She would have a crown, a special dress, a dance with escorts. "Carolina, you understand we can't go to your graduation, right?" My mother told me 3 days before the event. "Daniela's coronation is the same day, and she can't miss it. She's the queen." "It's my high school graduation, Mom," I argued, feeling that familiar sinking feeling in my chest. "I only graduate once. And we'll go see you in college, I promise. But this opportunity for Daniela is unique. Can you imagine how she would feel if we weren't there?" Could they imagine how I felt? I went to my graduation alone. Well, not completely alone. My grandmother, my father's mother, went with me. She was an elderly woman, 78 years old, with severe arthritis that made it hard for her to walk. But she made the effort to come. She sat in those uncomfortable auditorium chairs for 3 hours, just to see me go up on stage for 30 seconds and receive my diploma with honors. "I'm proud of you, Mija," she told me afterward, squeezing my hand with her arthritic fingers. "You're special. Don't let anyone make you think otherwise." They were the kindest words anyone in my family had said to me in years. My grandmother died 2 years later. At her funeral, my mother commented on how difficult it was to lose her. But she never knew, or never cared, that my grandmother had been the only person in that family who truly saw me. College was my escape. I went to study graphic design at a public university 2 hours from home. It wasn't far, but it was enough. Enough to breathe. Enough to start discovering who I was without Daniela's constant shadow. I immersed myself in my studies with the same intensity as always, but now for different reasons. I was no longer seeking approval. I sought excellence because I was passionate about it. Design became my language, a way to express everything I had never been able to say with words. My professors noticed my talent. They gave me opportunities. I worked on real projects while still a student. I won national design contests. I published work in specialized magazines. When I called home to share my achievements, the conversation always ended the same way. "That's great, Carolina. Hey, I have to go. Daniela just got here and needs help with something." Or, "That's wonderful, daughter. Your father is busy right now, but I'll tell him you called." Or simply, "Okay, take care." I stopped calling as much. I stopped sharing. I built a life separate from them. In my last year of college, my thesis project won first place nationally. It was a project about visual identity for small local businesses. I had worked on it for a full year. The prize included 10,000 pesos and an internship opportunity at one of the best agencies in the city. I texted my mother the news. Her reply came 6 hours later. "Congratulations. Daniela got a modeling contract for a youth clothing brand. Your father and I are organizing a dinner to celebrate. Can you come this weekend?" I went. As always. I went. And as always, my achievement wasn't mentioned even once. The entire dinner revolved around Daniela, her contract, her photos, her bright future in modeling. I sat there, eating the mole my mother had prepared, smiling when it was expected, nodding when it was expected, an extra in the movie of someone else's life. That was the last family dinner I attended willingly for a long time. I graduated with highest honors, summa cum laude. At the ceremony, when I went up on stage to receive my degree and the special recognition, I scanned the audience looking for my parents. They weren't there. Not because there was another coronation for Daniela or some important event. They simply forgot the date. When I called them afterward, my mother seemed genuinely surprised. "Was that today?" "Oh, Carolina, I'm sorry. I had it written down for next Saturday. My mistake. But I'm sure you did very well. Did you get your degree?" "Yes, Mom. And the summa cum laude distinction, and the recognition for the highest GPA in my class." "Wonderful, daughter. You've always been so smart. Hey, I have to go. I'm heading out with Daniela to buy things for her photo shoot. I'll call you later. She never called me later. I got a job at a small design agency. The salary was modest, but the environment was creative and stimulating. I rented a studio apartment in an affordable part of the city. It wasn't much, but it was mine, my space, where no one could make me feel less than. It was months of silent reconstruction, of learning to live for myself, of cooking what I wanted, of decorating how I wanted, of not having to compete for attention or validation. And then I met Rodrigo. He was 24 years old. It was a rainy Thursday in March. I was at my favorite downtown cafe, a small hidden cafe on a side street. Few people knew. I liked it because it was quiet, because it had fast internet, and because their Americano was the best in the city. I was working on an urgent project, a logo redesign due the next day. My laptop showed 7 in the evening, and I had been there since 2 in the afternoon. My coffee was already cold, my back hurt from hunching over the table, but I was in the zone, that flow state where the world disappears and only the work exists. Until a voice pulled me from my concentration. "Excuse me." I looked up. Standing before me was a man, tall, maybe 6 feet, dark hair slightly disheveled, deep brown eyes. He wore a wrinkled work shirt and held a laptop under his arm. "Yes?" I asked, probably more brusquely than necessary. "Sorry to interrupt. You look focused, but," he pointed to the only available electrical outlet in that section of the cafe, "the one I was using, my laptop is dying, and that's the only plug. Could you?" I looked at my own laptop. 40% battery. I could unplug, but then I risked the battery dying in the middle of saving my work. "I need it too," I said, turning back to my screen. "I understand," he said. He didn't leave. Instead, he sat at the table next to mine, the one right across from me. He spread out huge architectural plans on the table. He took out a notebook, and he began to work by hand without his computer. Something about that gesture made me feel guilty. We worked in silence for half an hour. Me designing, him drawing. Every so often our gazes would meet accidentally, and we'd look away quickly. When my laptop reached 20% battery, I gave in. "Hey," I called to him. "You can use the outlet. I'm almost done, and I have enough battery." He looked up, surprised. "Really? You don't have to." "Go ahead." I unplugged my charger and pushed it toward him. "Those plans look important." "They are," he admitted, moving his chair closer. He plugged in his laptop with a sigh of relief. "Thanks." "Really, I have to deliver a project tomorrow, and if I lose this work, I'm dead." "I understand," I said, returning to my own work. "I have a deadline tomorrow, too." "What do you do?" he asked. "Graphic design," I replied without looking up. "And you?" "Architecture." I nodded. Silence again. But it was a comfortable silence. 2 people working in parallel, connected by the urgency of creativity and deadlines. An hour later, when I finally saved my work and packed up my things, he looked up. "Hey," he said. "Thanks again for the outlet. You saved me. Can I buy you a coffee? I know you've been here for hours, but it's the least I can do." I should have said no. I should have made an excuse and left. But there was something in his smile. Something genuine. "Okay," I said, "but make it decaf. I've had enough caffeine for today." We sat at a table by the window. The rain had stopped, leaving the streets shiny and wet, the city lights reflected in the puddles like fallen stars. "I'm Rodrigo," he introduced himself, extending his hand. "Rodrigo Salazar." "Carolina," I said, shaking his hand. "Carolina Mendez." "Nice to meet you, Carolina. So, graphic designer? What kind of projects do you do?" And so it began, a conversation that flowed with surprising ease. He told me about his work at a medium-sized architecture firm, about his dream to one day design sustainable buildings, about his passion for creating spaces that improved people's lives. I told him about my work, about my love for identity design, about how every brand was like giving visual personality to something intangible. I didn't tell him about my family, not yet. That night was just about us, about 2 creative professionals sharing their passion. When we finally left the cafe, it was almost midnight. "This was," he began, searching for the right word. "Unexpected," I finished. But good. Can I see you again? He asked. Maybe under circumstances that don't involve stealing your outlet. I laughed. And in that moment, something inside me opened, a small crack in the armor I had built around my heart. I'd like that, I said. And so began what I thought would be my love story. My happy ending. Proof that not everything in my life had to be pain and disappointment. If I had known then what was coming, I would have run in the opposite direction and never looked back. Rodrigo and I started seeing each other regularly, coffees that turned into dinners, dinners that turned into long walks through the city, walks that turned into conversations until dawn. He was different from anyone I had ever met. He listened to me, really listened. He didn't check his phone while I talked. He didn't try to change the subject. He absorbed every word as if it were important. With him, I discovered what it meant to be someone's priority. When I told him about a difficult project at work, he got as excited as I did. When I had a bad day, he showed up with my favorite food without me having to ask. When I landed a big contract with an important client, he canceled his plans to take me out to dinner and celebrate. Carolina, he told me that night, raising his glass of wine, you're incredible, talented, smart, hardworking. That client was lucky to get you. It's not that big a deal, I said, uncomfortable with the compliment as always. It is a big deal, he insisted. You need to learn to celebrate your achievements, to recognize how exceptional you are. I cried in the restaurant bathroom that night. I cried because no one had ever made me feel that way, because Rodrigo's words touched parts of me that had been dormant, starved for recognition my whole life. We had been dating for 6 months when I got seriously ill with the flu, 39-degree fever, chills, body aches. I couldn't even get out of bed. I called Rodrigo to cancel our date that weekend. I'm a mess, I said in a hoarse voice. I don't think I'll be able to get out of bed for days. Then don't, he replied. I'm coming over. No, Rodrigo. It's contagious. I don't want... On my way. He arrived an hour later with grocery bags. Soup, tea, medicine, magazines, even a ridiculous giraffe stuffed animal that made me laugh despite feeling terrible. What are you doing? I asked, when he started organizing things in my kitchen. Taking care of you, he said as if it were obvious. When was the last time you ate anything? I don't remember. Yesterday maybe. He made soup. He made me eat it, even though I barely had an appetite. He gave me the medicine at the right times. He changed my bed sheets because they were soaked with sweat. He put cold cloths on my forehead when the fever spiked. He stayed the whole weekend. He slept on my uncomfortable couch. He canceled his plans. He turned off his phone except for emergencies. Why are you doing this? I asked him the second night, when the fever had finally gone down. You could be doing 1,000 better things than taking care of your sick girlfriend. He sat on the edge of my bed, brushing the sweaty hair from my forehead. Carolina, he said softly, there's nothing better I could be doing. When you love someone, you want to be there, in the good times and the bad, especially the bad. That's what it really means to love someone. I fell asleep crying that night, but they were tears of gratitude, of wonder, of not being able to believe that someone really loved me like that. 2 months later we moved in together. My little studio was too small for 2 people with demanding careers, so we rented a 2-bedroom apartment in a better part of the city. It had a real kitchen, a spacious living room, even a small balcony from where we could watch the sunsets. We decorated together. We mixed our styles, his modern furniture and my bohemian touches, his architecture books and my design materials. We created a home. For the first time in my life, I felt complete, loved, valued, as if I had finally found my place in the world. I should have known it was too good to last. It was after 2 years together that Rodrigo started insisting on meeting my family. Carolina, we've been dating for 2 years, he argued one night over dinner. We practically live together. When am I going to meet your parents? You don't have to meet them, I said, moving food around my plate without eating it. But I want to. They're your family. They're important to you. They're not important to me. The words came out harsher than I intended. Rodrigo put down his fork. What's going on? Is there something you're not telling me? Every time I mention your family, you shut down. He was right. I had been avoiding the topic for 2 years, making excuses, changing the subject, but Rodrigo was persistent. and I was tired of hiding that part of my life. My family is complicated, I finally admitted. We're not close. We don't get along, especially with my sister. You have a sister, he said, and I could see the surprise on his face. You've never mentioned her. There are reasons for that. Like what? And so I told him, an abbreviated version of my childhood, of always being second choice, of Daniela and her ability to monopolize all the attention, of my parents and their obvious favoritism. Rodrigo listened without interrupting. When I finished, he took my hand across the table. I'm sorry, he said. That's not fair. But Carolina, you were a child. Maybe things have changed. Maybe now that you're an adult, your family can see how amazing you are. I doubt it very much. Don't you think it's worth trying? At least once. For us. Because if we ever get married, he paused, letting those words float between us. It would be weird if I'd never met your family. Get married. The idea filled me with an emotion that overcame my anxiety about my family. Okay, I yielded. One dinner. But I'm warning you, don't expect much. Seeing where you got those beautiful eyes is enough, he joked, trying to lighten the moment. I arranged the dinner for the following Sunday. I called my mother to let her know. You're coming home? She asked, sounding genuinely surprised. How long has it been? 6 months? 10, I corrected. And yes, I'm coming. And I'm bringing someone. My boyfriend, Rodrigo. You have a boyfriend? The astonishment in her voice was like a stab, as if the idea that I could have a partner were inconceivable. Since when? 2 years, Mom. 2 years and you hadn't told us. Well, sure, come. I'll make something special. Your father will be happy to meet him. I hung up feeling like I had made a terrible mistake. That week I prepared Rodrigo as best I could. I told him about Daniela in more detail, about her beauty that seemed to be her only quality, but was enough for my family, about her magnetic personality, about how she consumed all the attention in any space. Sounds interesting, said Rodrigo. But don't worry, I'm going there to meet your family, not to be impressed by your sister. If only it had been that simple. Sunday arrived too quickly. I tried on 5 different dresses before deciding on a simple navy blue one. I didn't want to look like I was trying too hard. Rodrigo put on a white shirt and dark dress pants. He looked handsome, professional, like the kind of man any father would be proud to have his daughter bring home. The whole car ride to my parents' house. My legs shook with anxiety. Rodrigo covered it with his hand. It's going to be okay, he assured me. I'll be by your side the whole time. We arrived at 3 in the afternoon. My mother opened the door before we could knock. She wore a new dress. Her hair was perfectly styled. Her makeup flawless. More dressed up than I had seen her in years. Carolina, she hugged me quickly. And you must be Rodrigo. Come in. Come in. Daniela is anxious to meet you. To meet Rodrigo, she meant, not me. I didn't matter. We entered the house. It smelled of mole and rice. My mother had cooked the best of her repertoire. There were flowers on the table, candles. The house was cleaner and more organized than ever. Dad is in the living room, my mother said, guiding us. And Daniela is, here she comes. And then I saw her, my sister. Daniela came down the stairs as if she were on a runway. She wore an electric blue dress that hugged every perfect curve of her body. Her long hair fell in soft waves over her shoulders. Her makeup was magazine perfect. The high heels made her endless legs look even longer. She was 26 years old and still the most beautiful woman most people would ever see. I saw Rodrigo's reaction. It was instantaneous. It was inevitable. His eyes widened slightly. His posture changed. That spark of involuntary admiration crossed his face. All men reacted like that to Daniela. I had seen it 1,000 times, but coming from Rodrigo, from the man who had promised me I was enough, it hurt in a way I didn't expect. Caro, Daniela exclaimed, running down the last steps and wrapping me in a performative hug. It's been so long, I've missed you so much. Lee, we hadn't spoken in 10 months, and neither of us had initiated contact. And you must be Rodrigo. She turned to him with that heart-melting smile. Carolina hasn't stopped talking about you. Another lie. I barely mentioned my personal life to my family. Nice to meet you, Daniela. Rodrigo extended his hand. She took it with both hands, holding the contact a little longer than necessary. The pleasure is mine. Come sit. I want to know all about the man who finally won my sister's heart. Dinner was exactly the torture I had anticipated. My parents bombarded Rodrigo with questions. What did he do? Where did he study? What were his intentions with their daughter? Was he from a good family? Rodrigo answered everything with grace and patience. He was charming, polite, the perfect son-in-law. But throughout the evening, I felt Daniela's presence like a black hole, pulling all the energy in the room toward her. Every comment she made was witty. Every anecdote she told was fascinating. Every gesture she made was perfectly calibrated to captivate. And Rodrigo looked at her. Not constantly, not obviously, but he looked. Carolina is so lucky to have found you, Daniela said to Rodrigo while serving dessert. My sister has always been so serious, so caught up in her design world. She needed someone to bring her out of her shell a little. Someone to make her more, live. Implying that I didn't know how to live, that I needed fixing. Carolina doesn't need to come out of any shell, Rodrigo responded, and I felt grateful. She's perfect just as she is. Her dedication to her work is one of the things I admire most about her. Oh, how sweet, Daniela laughed, touching his arm casually. A split second of contact that seemed innocent but wasn't. But you've only known her for 2 years. I've known her whole life. I assure you she needs to get out more, have more fun, be less structured, like me. Like her. It always came back to that, to how Daniela was better. More free, more fun, more alive. I wanted to scream. I wanted to get up and leave, but I stayed seated, with that forced smile I had perfected during 30 years of family dinners, the polite sister, the one who never causes trouble. After dinner, while my mother and I cleared the plates in the kitchen, she whispered to me, "Your sister looks radiant, doesn't she? She just finished an important advertising campaign. She'll be on billboards all over the city." "That's great for her," I said, stacking plates harder than necessary. "Rodrigo seems very nice. He's handsome, polite. Have you thought about marriage?" "We haven't talked about that yet." "Well, don't wait too long. You're already 28. Your biological clock is ticking." The biological clock, of course, because my value was reduced to my ability to reproduce. When we finally left that night, almost at 10, I felt exhausted, emotionally drained, as if I had run a marathon. Rodrigo was unusually quiet during the drive home. "What's wrong?" I asked, though I wasn't sure I wanted to know the answer. "Nothing, just processing. Your family is," he searched for the word. "Difficult?" I was going to say interesting. Your sister is very different from you. My heart sank. I know. She always has been. She's very, he stopped again as if choosing his words carefully. Vibrant. Vibrant. That word lodged in my chest like a rusty knife. Because I knew exactly what it meant. It meant Daniela was everything I wasn't. It meant he had noticed. It meant the comparison was inevitable. And though I tried to convince myself it was nothing, that I was just being paranoid, something changed that night. A crack appeared in what I thought was a solid relationship. A crack that would eventually become an abyss. The following months were strange, subtly different, like when you know something is wrong, but you can't pinpoint exactly what. Rodrigo began to mention Daniela more frequently than normal, casual questions, passing comments. "Is your sister still modeling? Will Daniela be at the family gathering next month? I saw a billboard of your sister yesterday. She looks incredible. Your sister posted a photo on Instagram. Did you see it?" Every mention was like sandpaper on an open wound. At first I ignored it. I told myself they were just normal conversations, that it was natural for him to show interest in my family after meeting them. But then other changes started. Rodrigo began arriving late to our dates. His phone rang more often and he checked it with an urgency I hadn't seen before. When I asked who it was, his answer was always vague. Work. A client. Nothing important. And each time, my stomach tightened with an anxiety I couldn't name. One night, 3 months after that dinner, Rodrigo canceled a date at the last minute. We had planned to go to the movies. I was already ready, waiting for him in our apartment. "Sorry, love," he said on the phone. "A work emergency came up. I have to stay late. Can we do it tomorrow?" "Sure," I said, trying not to sound disappointed. Do you want me to bring you some dinner? No, don't worry. I'll order something here. Love you. See you later. I hung up feeling silly for being so dressed up for a date that wasn't happening. I changed into comfortable clothes, ordered Chinese food, and settled in to watch a movie alone. Rodrigo arrived after midnight. When he came into the apartment, he didn't seem stressed or tired like someone who had just had a work emergency. He seemed energized, almost nervous. How was work? I asked from the couch. Complicated. But it's resolved now. What did you watch? And he changed the subject, and I let him because part of me didn't want to know. Because as long as I didn't ask the questions, I could keep pretending everything was fine. That was my first great cowardice. 2 weeks later, I got a call from my cousin Lucia. It was late, almost 11 at night. Carolina, she said, and her voice sounded strange. Are you with Rodrigo? No, he's working late again. Why? Silence. A silence that lasted too long. Lucia, what's going on? It's probably nothing, she said finally. But I just left a restaurant in Condesa, and I saw someone who looked a lot like Rodrigo, with a woman. My heart stopped. With who? Another silence. With Daniela. The world tilted. Are you sure? I'm pretty sure. I didn't want to approach because I didn't want to make a scene if I was wrong. But Carolina, they looked very comfortable. Very close. Thanks for telling me, I said with a voice that didn't sound like mine. I'll call you later. I hung up and sat on the couch staring at my phone. I could call Rodrigo. I could demand answers. I could confront him. Or I could keep pretending. I chose to pretend. That was my second great cowardice. But truth has a way of coming out, no matter how much you try to bury it. One night, 2 weeks after Lucia's call, Rodrigo fell into a deep sleep after a long day at work. I was awake, staring at the ceiling, with that anxiety that had become my constant companion. His phone vibrated on the nightstand. Once, twice, 3 times. Normally, I would never check my partner's phone. I wasn't that kind of person. I believed in privacy, in trust. But something inside me, that voice that had been whispering warnings for months, pushed me to look. I took his phone. It didn't have a password. It never had. I have nothing to hide, he had told me. The screen showed 3 messages from Daniela. My sister. My heart beat so hard I thought Rodrigo might hear it. With trembling hands, I opened the conversation. I can't stop thinking about today. This is wrong. I know, but I can't help it. I scrolled up in the conversation, and there it all was. Weeks and weeks of messages. Flirting. Confessions. Plans to meet. Carolina worked late today. Do you want to meet up? Dinner last night was incredible. I didn't want it to end. I know this is wrong. She's your sister, but I've never felt like this before. I can't help comparing. With you, everything is so easy, so natural. With her, it's always been complicated. Every word was a dagger. Every message was a betrayal. Not just from him, from her, from my sister, the person who was supposed to love me, protect me, be on my side. I kept reading, unable to stop, even though every word destroyed me. Your sister doesn't have to know. We can be careful. I feel terrible, but at the same time I don't want to stop. You're so different from her, so free, so passionate. With Carolina, everything is work and responsibility. With you, I can just be. I reached a message from a week ago, from Rodrigo. Do you think we should tell her? This is getting more serious. I can't keep lying to her. Daniela's response, not yet. I need time to think about how to do it. This is going to destroy her. At least they knew they were going to destroy me. How considerate. I woke Rodrigo by shaking him with a fury I didn't know existed inside me. Wake up, I screamed. Wake up right now. He woke up disoriented, blinking in the dark. What? Carolina? What's wrong? This is what's wrong. I threw the phone at his chest. This is what's wrong. The confusion on his face turned to panic when he saw the illuminated screen showing the conversation with Daniela. Carolina, I can explain. Explain it then. Tears streamed down my cheeks uncontrollably. Explain to me how you've been seeing my sister behind my back. Explain these messages to me. Explain to me how you could do this to me." He sat up in bed, running his hands through his hair. "It was an accident. We didn't plan for it to happen. She started texting me after that dinner, just casual conversations at first. Asking about you, about our relationship. And then, I don't know how it happened. It became more personal, more intimate. How long have you been seeing each other?" "Carolina. Answer me. How long?" 2 months, he admitted quietly. "Maybe 2.5. 2.5 months. While I slept beside him every night, trusting him, he was building a relationship with my sister." "Have you slept together?" I asked, though I wasn't sure I wanted to know the answer. "No," he said quickly. "I swear we haven't gone that far. Just messages. And we've gone out a few times. To dinner. To walk. But nothing physical. We haven't crossed that line." "As if that makes it better," I exploded. "Do you think the fact that you're only writing romantic messages, planning secret dates, telling each other how much you want each other, is better than sleeping together? It's the same. You betrayed me in the worst possible way." "I know," his voice broke. "I know, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Carolina. I never wanted to hurt you. But you did. Both of you did. And what's worse, you were going to keep doing it if I hadn't found those messages, right? You were going to keep lying to me." "I don't know. We were trying to decide what to do. How to handle it." "How to handle it?" I laughed without humor, as if I were a problem you needed to solve, as if I were the obstacle between the two of you and your happiness. "That's not how it is." "Then how is it? Enlighten me, Rodrigo. What exactly is the situation where my boyfriend develops feelings for my sister and that's anyone's fault but yours?" He got out of bed, trying to approach me. "I love you, Carolina. I love you. This with Daniela is, I don't know what it is. It's different. It's confusing. It's vibrant." I spat out the word that had been eating at me for months. "Is that what it is? Is she vibrant? And I'm what? Boring? Predictable? The workaholic girlfriend who's always busy while my sister is the free, passionate woman you really want to be with?" "No," he denied vehemently, but his eyes said otherwise. "It's not like that. You are my home, my stability, my future. Daniela is a distraction, a stupid mistake, something that should never have happened. A distraction you actively maintain for 2.5 months, a stupid mistake you write messages about every day, something that should never have happened but that you kept choosing to do. Carolina, please." He came closer. "No." I stepped back. "Don't come near me, don't touch me, don't ever touch me again. We can fix this. We can go to therapy. I can cut off all contact with Daniela. We can—" "There's nothing to fix," I said with a calm I didn't feel. "This is over. You and I are over. I want you out of my apartment right now." "Carolina, it's my apartment too. We live together." "I don't care. Get out. Go wherever. But I don't want to see you anymore tonight. Tomorrow you pack your things and you leave. But tonight, right now, I need you to go." "Where am I supposed to go at this hour?" "I don't know. Daniela's house?" The words came out poisoned. "I'm sure she'd be delighted to have you." "Don't be like that." "Don't be like what? Don't be cruel? Don't make you feel bad for destroying me? Get out of here, Rodrigo. Get out right now or I'll call the police and say I feel threatened." Finally he moved. He gathered his keys, his wallet, put on shoes. He stopped at the door. "I'm sorry," he said one last time. "I really am sorry." And he left. The door closed with a click that echoed in the apartment's silence. And then, finally, I collapsed. I slid down the wall until I was sitting on the floor, and I cried. I cried as I hadn't cried in years. Maybe in my whole life. I cried for the lost relationship, for the betrayal, for the sister who had never really loved me, for the parents who had never seen me, for a whole life of being second choice. I cried until there were no more tears, until the sun began to rise, and daylight came through the windows, until all that remained was numbness, emptiness. I didn't answer Rodrigo's calls in the following days. I didn't open the door when he came to get his things. I simply packed everything in boxes and left them in the building hallway. His books, his clothes, his architecture projects, everything that was his. Everything except the memories. Those I didn't know how to pack. My sister tried to contact me once, a single message that arrived 3 days after that night. Caro, we need to talk. Please. I know you're angry, but this is more complicated than you think. It wasn't planned, it just happened. Please, talk to me. It just happened, as if betrayal were a weather event, an inevitable accident. I didn't respond. I blocked her number. I blocked her social media. I blocked her entire existence from my life. Or at least I tried. It was my mother who finally showed up at my apartment 2 weeks later. She didn't call beforehand. She didn't ask if she could come. She simply used the emergency key I had given her years ago, when I had just moved out, and she had insisted on having one just in case. I heard the door open. I was in my bedroom, lying in bed in the middle of the afternoon. I hadn't gone to work in 3 days. I had barely eaten. The apartment was a mess of empty pizza boxes and dirty laundry. Carolina, my mother's voice was firm, authoritative. Open this door right now. I know you're in there. I didn't respond, but she didn't need a response. My bedroom door opened. My mother entered and looked at me with that expression I knew so well. It wasn't concern. It was disappointment. 2 weeks without hearing from you, she began. Your father and I are worried. Rodrigo is devastated. Daniela is devastated. What is going on? What is going on? I repeated, incredulous. I sat up in bed, looking at her. Are you seriously asking me that? Daniela told me about the situation with Rodrigo, and yes, it was a mistake, a big mistake. But Carolina, these things happen. People fall in love. You can't blame them for what they feel. The words took a moment to register. When they did, it was as if I had been slapped. Are you telling me I can't blame my boyfriend and my sister for betraying me? I'm not saying it was okay. My mother sat on the edge of my bed. I'm saying these things are complicated. No one plans to fall in love with the wrong person. And honestly, Carolina, if Rodrigo developed feelings for Daniela, maybe there were problems in your relationship that you didn't want to see. Problems in my relationship, I repeated slowly. So this is my fault. I'm not saying it's your fault, but relationships require work. They require keeping the spark alive. And you, well, you've always been so focused on your career, so serious. Maybe Rodrigo needed something more. Something like my sister. Daniela is different from you. She's more spontaneous, more adventurous, and men sometimes need that. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My own mother justifying my sister's betrayal, blaming me for not being enough. You know what, Mom? I got out of bed. You're right, I'm different from Daniela. I'm hardworking, dedicated, loyal, things that apparently aren't as valuable as being spontaneous and adventurous. Don't put words in my mouth. I don't need to put words in your mouth. You're saying them yourself. You came here to console me after I was betrayed in the worst possible way, and instead of supporting me, you're telling me it's my fault for not being enough. It's not your fault. Then stop acting like it is, I screamed. And in that scream came 30 years of pent-up frustration. My whole life I've done everything right. I've been the perfect daughter, the perfect student, the understanding sister, and it's never been enough. Never. Because no matter what I do, no matter what I achieve, I will always be less than Daniela. That's not true. No? How many of my graduations did you attend, Mom? How many of my achievements did you celebrate? How many times did you make me feel like I mattered? Even half as much as Daniela matters. My mother fell silent. She had no answer, because she knew I was right. Daniela is very sorry, she said finally, changing tactics. She cries every day. It hurts her to have hurt you. Good. Let it hurt her. Carolina. No, Mom. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to be the one who forgives and forgets. I'm not going to be the mature big sister who puts family first. Not anymore. What are you saying? I'm saying it's over. I don't want to see Daniela. I don't want to talk to her. And frankly, I don't want much to do with you either. You can't be serious. Very serious. My whole life I've put this family first. I've sacrificed. I've given in. I've been invisible when they needed me invisible. And I've been present when they needed me present. And the only thing I've received in return is indifference. So yes, Mom, I'm very serious. You're my daughter. Daniela is your sister. You can't just cut ties because you're angry. I'm not just angry. I'm destroyed, and you, instead of being on my side, are defending the person who betrayed me. So yes, I can cut ties, and I'm going to." My mother stood up, her face red. "You're going to regret this. When you're alone, when you have no one, you're going to regret pushing your family away." "Maybe," I said, "or maybe I'll finally be at peace." My mother left my apartment that day and didn't contact me again for months. My father called once, an awkward conversation where he asked me to consider forgiving and think of the family. I told him the same thing I told my mother. No. The following months were the darkest of my life. I lost weight. I didn't sleep well. At work I functioned on autopilot. My friends noticed the change, but they didn't know how to help. It was Elena, a coworker I barely knew, who finally saved me. "Carolina," she told me one day, finding me crying in the office bathroom during lunch hour, "this can't go on. You need professional help." "I'm fine." "No, you're not. And it's okay not to be. But you need to talk to someone, to a therapist. Please." She gave me her therapist's contact, a woman named Monica. It took me 2 weeks to call, but I finally did. My first session with Monica was revelatory. "Carolina," she told me, "after hearing my story, you've spent your entire life trying to earn your family's love. But love isn't something you should have to earn. Love is given freely, unconditionally. What your family has given you is conditional love. Love you have to deserve. Love they can take away at any moment, if you don't meet their expectations." Her words made me cry, but they were tears of recognition, of finally having words for something I had felt my whole life, but had never been able to articulate. "There's nothing wrong with you," Monica continued. "The problem has never been you. The problem is a toxic family system, where you were assigned the role of being invisible so your sister could shine." Therapy sessions became my anchor. Every week we broke down another layer of my family history. We identified patterns. We named toxic behaviors, and slowly, very slowly, I began to heal. Elena became a true friend. She invited me out. She forced me to socialize. She reminded me there was life beyond my pain. "You are more than what they did to you," she would say. "You are talented, valuable. You deserve to be loved without conditions." 6 months after the breakup with Rodrigo, I finally began to believe those words. That's when I met Daniel. He was an industrial designer. We met at a networking event. Elena forced me to attend. He was quiet, thoughtful, with a shy smile that reminded me of myself. "Do you like this?" he asked me, standing by the snack table, both of us obviously uncomfortable with the forced networking. "I hate this," I admitted. "Me too. Do you want to escape and get real coffee somewhere?" And so it began. Daniel was different. He didn't pressure me. He didn't expect me to be someone I wasn't. When I finally told him about my family, about Rodrigo and Daniela, he didn't judge me. "You deserved better," was all he said. And he hugged me. And in that hug I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Safety. It was my mother who finally broke the family silence. 9 months after our last conversation, a call on a Tuesday afternoon. "Carolina, it's your mother," she said, as if I could have forgotten her voice. "I need to talk to you. It's important." "Mom," I replied, my voice firmer than it had ever been. "I have nothing to say to you. It's about your sister. She's getting married." The world stopped. The words floated in the air, refusing to make sense. "What?" "Daniela is getting married. In 2 months, and she wants you there. You're her sister. It's important to her." "Who is she marrying?" I asked, though deep down I already knew. I had already guessed the punch that was coming. My mother's silence was answer enough. But she said it anyway. "With Rodrigo. My sister was marrying my ex-boyfriend, the person with whom she betrayed me, and in some twisted way, I was expected to attend, to smile, to celebrate." "You're joking," I whispered. "Carolina, I know this is hard for you, but they've been together these months. They're in love, truly in love. And Daniela really wants you there. You're her big sister. It means a lot to her. And what about what it means to me?" The words came out broken. "What about how she betrayed me, how both of them betrayed me?" "That was a long time ago." "It was 9 months, Mom. 9 months isn't a long time. Long enough for them to build something real, something worth celebrating, and your father and I hope you can leave the past behind and do the right thing. The right thing, I repeated. The right thing would be for my family to be on my side, for them to say, no, Daniela. What you did to your sister is unforgivable, and we're not going to celebrate a relationship that began with betrayal. That would be the right thing. Life isn't that simple, Carolina. Love isn't simple, and it's time for you to grow up and understand that. Grow up. As if I were the immature one. As if setting boundaries were childish. I'm not going, I said finally. What? I'm not going to that wedding. I'm not going to celebrate their betrayal. I'm not going to pretend everything is fine. Carolina, she's your sister. She's someone who betrayed me in the worst possible way, and you, instead of supporting me, chose her side. So no, I'm not going. Your father and I will be very disappointed. Then I guess you'll have to live with that disappointment. It wouldn't be the first time I've disappointed you, would it? I hung up before she could respond. I sat in my apartment, holding the phone, trembling. Daniel came in from the kitchen, saw my expression. What happened? He asked. And I told him everything. The wedding, the expectation that I attend, the audacity of my family. Daniel hugged me while I cried with rage, with pain, with disbelief at the absurdity of the situation. You don't have to go, he told me. You don't owe them anything. I know, I said. But part of me… What? Part of me wants to go, wants to see them face to face, wants to show them they didn't break me, that I survived the worst they could do to me, and I still came out ahead. Are you sure? Because going to that wedding is going to be torture. I know, but I think I need it, to close this chapter, to prove to myself that I can face them and come out whole. Daniel looked at me for a long moment. If it's what you need, I support you, but you don't have to do it alone. I can go with you. No, I said, taking his hand. Thank you, but no. This is something I need to do alone. The following weeks were mental preparation. Monica, my therapist, helped me set clear boundaries, to prepare responses for the inevitable questions, to strengthen my emotional armor. You're going to face comments, she warned. Questions about your life, your singleness, why you came without a partner. They're going to make you feel less than. You need to be ready. We practiced responses. We established boundaries. We did visualization exercises, where I saw myself at the wedding, keeping my composure, saying what I needed to say without breaking. Remember, Monica told me in our last session before the wedding, you're not going there for them. You're going for you. To prove to yourself that you can face your worst nightmare and survive. Elena helped me choose the dress. We went shopping on a Saturday, trying on dozens of options. You need something that makes you feel powerful, Elena said. Something that says I survived your betrayal, and I'm better than ever. Finally, we found the perfect dress. Black, knee-length, with 3/4 sleeves and an elegant line. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't sexy. It was dignified, professional, strong. The night before the wedding, Daniel came to my apartment. Are you sure you don't want me to go? He asked for the 100th time. Sure, I told him, kissing him. This is something I need to do alone, but thank you for understanding. I'll have my phone on the whole time, if you need me. Whatever it is, you call me, and I'll come for you. I know. I love you for that. I love you for everything, he replied. That night I had trouble sleeping. I rehearsed conversations in my mind. I prepared my responses. I visualized the moment of entering the church, of seeing Rodrigo at the altar, of seeing Daniela walking down the aisle. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared me for what actually happened. Saturday dawned with a clear sky. A perfect day for a wedding. How ironic. I took my time getting dressed. The black dress, comfortable yet elegant heels, subtle makeup, hair pulled back in a simple bun. I looked in the mirror and saw a woman different from the one I was a year ago. Stronger, more confident. With scars, yes, but standing. You can do this, I told my reflection. You are strong. You are a survivor. You are enough. The mantra Monica had taught me. I drove to the San Miguel church, the church I had gone to as a child, where I had made my first communion, where I had grown up believing in love and family. How naive I had been. I arrived early on purpose. An hour before the ceremony, I wanted to avoid crowds. I wanted to find my seat and stay invisible until everything was over. But as I crossed the main doors of the church, I saw them. My mother and my aunts, a group of 5 women standing in the vestibule, checking the decorations, adjusting flowers, talking in low voices. And when they saw me, when their eyes landed on me, alone, without a partner, everything stopped. The silence was deafening. It was my Aunt Rocio who spoke first. "Carolina, did you come alone?" 3 words that contained all the judgment in the world. "Yes," I replied, lifting my chin. "I came alone." And then it happened. My aunt began to laugh. A nervous laugh at first, then louder, and then my Aunt Martha joined in, and my mother, and all the others. Guffaws, cruel laughter, mockery barely disguised as surprise. The sound echoed in the sacred space of the church, bouncing off the stone walls, amplifying until it was all I could hear. "Oh, Carolina," my mother said between laughs, wiping her eyes. "You seriously couldn't get a partner even for your sister's wedding?" "Even after all this time," added my Aunt Martha, her voice dripping with false pity. "You're still alone? Poor thing." "At least Daniela knows how to keep a man," commented my Aunt Rocio, and the others nodded. "She knows what they want." The words pierced me like bullets. Every laugh was a stab. Every comment was poison. But I stood firm. I wasn't going to give them the pleasure of seeing me break. "Yes," I said with a clear voice. Even though I was trembling inside, I came alone. "So what?" "Nothing. Nothing," my mother approached, her tone now condescending. "It's just that we expected, well, that you would have gotten over all this, that you would have moved on, that you would have had someone new." "I have someone," I said before I could stop myself. "I just decided to come alone." "Uh-huh." My Aunt Rocio exchanged a skeptical look with the others. "Sure, you have someone, but you decided to come alone to your sister's wedding. That makes a lot of sense." It was pointless. Nothing I said would change their perception. To them, I would always be the loser, the failed sister, the woman who couldn't keep her man. I walked into the church, their laughter following me like shadows. I found my seat in the last rows. Of course they had put me way in the back, far from the family, as if my presence were a shame they needed to hide. I sat on that hard wooden pew and breathed, deeply, once, twice, trying to calm the trembling in my hands, the knot in my throat. "You can do this," I whispered. "Just a few more hours." The church filled up. I recognized faces, cousins I hadn't seen since childhood, family friends who looked at me with curiosity, Rodrigo's aunt who had met me when we were a couple, and now looked away, uncomfortable. Everyone was in couples. Everyone, even the single cousins, had brought dates. Only I was sitting alone. And then the ceremony began. The music. The doors at the back opened. Rodrigo entered with his best man. He walked to the altar, wearing a perfect gray suit. He looked nervous, happy, excited, as if I had never existed, as if the 2 years we spent together were just a forgettable parenthesis in his true love story. The wedding march began. Everyone stood up. And there she came, Daniela, walking arm in arm with my father down that endless aisle, dressed in white, radiant, beautiful, the perfect bride. Her dress was a dream of tulle and lace. Her hair fell in perfect curls. Her makeup was movie star perfect. The light came through the stained glass and illuminated her like an angel. My father looked at her with so much pride, with so much love, with that expression he had never, not once, directed toward me. They passed in front of my pew. Daniela turned. Our gazes met, and in that second, I saw something in her eyes. It wasn't remorse. It wasn't apology. It was triumph. She had won, as she always won. She had taken my boyfriend. She had won our parents' approval. She had the dream wedding. She had everything. And I was alone in the last row, witnessing her final victory. The ceremony was beautiful. Father Martinez spoke about love, commitment. Rodrigo and Daniela exchanged vows they had written themselves. Words of eternal love, of fidelity, of building a life together. The same promises Rodrigo had made to me. When the priest said, "You may kiss the bride," I closed my eyes. I couldn't watch that. I couldn't watch their lips touching. I couldn't watch that moment I had imagined for myself, being lived by them. Applause filled the church. The happy couple walked down the aisle, smiling, waving, being celebrated. They passed by me without looking, as if I were invisible. As I had always been, the reception was at an elegant hall on the outskirts of the city, perfectly manicured gardens, bright lights, a huge white tent with tables decorated like a magazine. I drove there on autopilot. Half of me wanted to turn around and flee. The other half, the part that had promised to do this, pushed me forward. My seat was at a table in the farthest corner of the hall, not with my family, not with the couple's close friends, with distant cousins who barely knew me. "Carolina?" asked an older man when I sat down. "Daniela's sister?" "Yes. I didn't recognize you. It's been so long. And your husband? Your boyfriend?" "I came alone." "Ah, well, I'm sure you'll find someone soon." Those words, that damn phrase, as if my value depended on having someone by my side. Dinner was endless. Elegant dishes I barely tasted. Forced conversations with strangers. The constant feeling of being observed, judged, found lacking. And then the speeches began. My father went first. He talked about Daniela, about how she had been the light of his life since she was born, about how Rodrigo was the perfect man for her, about how proud he was of the woman she had become. He didn't mention my name even once. Rodrigo's best man told the story of how the couple met. At a family dinner, he said. Rodrigo told me he saw her and knew immediately she was the woman of his life. It was love at first sight. That family dinner, that damn dinner to which I brought him, where I introduced my boyfriend to my family, and where my sister decided she wanted him for herself. And everyone applauded. Everyone celebrated that love story. No one mentioned that it began with a betrayal, that it was built on my pain. Then came the first dance. Daniela and Rodrigo in the center of the dance floor. He guided her with the same gentleness with which he had guided me. She laughed, radiant, completely absorbed in the moment. And everyone watched them. Everyone smiled. Everyone celebrated their love. A love built on my pain, on my destruction, on the broken pieces of what I thought was my future. I couldn't take it anymore. I stood up. I needed air. I needed to escape. I went out to the gardens. I found a dark corner away from the lights, away from the music, away from all that joy that felt like knives. "Carolina?" I turned. It was my cousin Lucia, one of the few people in my family who had always been kind to me. "Lucia," I said, quickly wiping away the tears I had let escape. "Are you okay?" she asked with genuine concern. "No," I admitted. "I'm not okay. I shouldn't have come here." "I'm sorry," she said, hugging me. "I'm sorry for what they did to you. I'm sorry for how this family has treated you. It's not fair. None of this is fair." "Then why did you come to the wedding?" I asked. "If you think it's unfair, why are you celebrating this?" "Because it's my family," she sighed. "Because it's complicated. Because, honestly, Carolina, I don't know. I guess we're all cowards on some level. It's easier to go with the flow than to go against everyone." She was right, and that gave me brutal clarity. "I'm leaving," I said. "Right now I can't be here another second." "Are you sure?" "Completely." I went back to the hall to get my purse, but as I walked toward the exit, my mother intercepted me. "Where are you going?" she asked, her tone accusatory. "Home. Now. In the middle of the reception? What will everyone think?" "Frankly, Mom, I don't care what they think." "Carolina, don't be ridiculous. You've already done enough by coming alone. At least stay until—" "No," I interrupted. My voice was stronger now. Firmer. "I'm not staying. I'm not going to keep pretending this is okay. I'm not going to celebrate something that destroyed me." "You're still so dramatic," my mother sighed, and those words were the spark that ignited everything. "Dramatic?" The words exploded from me. "Dramatic? I've spent my entire life being what you wanted, being invisible when you needed me invisible, being understanding when you wanted understanding, sacrificing myself for this family over and over. And when I finally stand up for myself, I'm the dramatic one?" "Lower your voice," she hissed, looking around. "You're making a scene. Let it be a scene. Let me be clear. Daniela betrayed me in the worst possible way. Rodrigo lied to me and cheated on me. And you, all of you, acted as if I were the problem. As if I should just get over my sister and my boyfriend destroying me. It's time you got over it. No. And now people were definitely looking. I'm not going to get over it. I'm not going to pretend it's okay. And I'm not going to be part of this toxic family ever again. My father appeared, alarmed by the volume of my voice. Carolina, what's going on here? I'm telling Mom it's over, that I don't want to see you again. Any of you. Don't say things you'll regret, my father said, his voice pleading. I don't regret anything, I said, looking directly at him. Except having taken so long to do this. Except having spent 32 years trying to earn a love I was never going to receive. We've always loved you, my father said, and for the first time I saw tears in his eyes. No, I denied. You haven't loved me. You've tolerated my existence while you adored Daniela. And there's a difference. A big difference. Carolina, please, my mother began. No, not anymore. I'm leaving, and I won't be back. You can have your perfect family without me. You can celebrate Daniela without me in the shadows. You can keep pretending everything is fine while ignoring the daughter who was always there. If you leave now, my father tried one last time. What? I won't be welcome? I never really was, so don't threaten me with something I lost a long time ago. And with that, I walked toward the exit. I heard murmurs around me. I saw faces turning. I heard my name being called. But I didn't look back. For the first time in my life, I didn't look back. I walked out to the parking lot. The cool night air hit me. My hands shook as I searched for my keys. My phone rang. It was Daniel. Hello? I answered, my voice broken. How are you? And there, standing in that parking lot, surrounded by luxury cars and bright lights illuminating a celebration I no longer belonged to, I burst out laughing. A deep laugh, liberating, almost hysterical. I left, I said. I told them everything, and I left. Are you okay? You know what, Daniel? I said, feeling something I hadn't felt in years. I think I am. I think for the first time in a long time I'm really okay. 2 years have passed since that night. 2 years since I left my family behind, and I wish I could say it was easy, but I'd be lying. The first months were hard. Christmases alone. Birthdays without family calls. That void where the hope of reconciliation used to be. But they have also been the 2 most peaceful years of my life. I married Daniel 6 months ago. A small ceremony on the beach, just us, Elena, as my maid of honor, and an intimate group of true friends. There was no drama, no comparisons, just genuine love. Elena is still my best friend, my chosen sister. She has taught me what sibling love really means. Unconditional support, mutual celebration. My career has flourished. I now run my own design studio. I have a small but talented team. We won an international award last year. My mother doesn't know. My father doesn't either. And that's okay. I heard from Lucia that Daniela has a child now. A boy. My parents are grandparents. They look happy in the photos. Lucia shows me occasionally. Don't you want to meet your nephew? Lucia asked me the last time we spoke. No, I answered honestly. That child has a family. He has grandparents who adore him. He has parents who love him. He doesn't need me, and I don't need that reminder of what I lost. I also heard that my mother has tried to contact me several times. She left messages, sent letters, all unopened, all unanswered. On my father's birthday last year, he apparently asked about me. Where's Carolina? Why didn't she come? Lucia told him the truth. Because you didn't love her enough when she was here. I don't know if they will ever understand, if they will ever see the damage they caused, but that is no longer my problem. Their regret, or lack thereof, does not define my worth. I have learned that family isn't who shares your blood. Family is who chooses to be by your side, who celebrates you, who sees you, who loves you without conditions. And I have that family now. Daniel, Elena, my work team. The friends who became siblings. A family I built with love, with respect, with reciprocity. Last night, Daniel found me on our terrace, looking at the stars, lost in thought. What are you thinking about? He asked, hugging me from behind. How far I've come, I said. About the woman I was 2 years ago when I entered that church, and the woman I am now. You're incredible, he said, kissing my head, and not because you survived what you survived, but because you chose to flourish afterward. He's right, because surviving isn't enough. Surviving is just staying alive. I chose to do more than survive. I chose to heal. I chose to grow. I chose to build a life worth living. Sometimes, in quiet moments like this, I think of that version of me who entered the San Miguel Church 2 years ago, the woman who was still seeking validation, who still hoped someone in her family would say, "We're sorry," who still believed there could be reconciliation. And I want to hug her. I want to tell her everything is going to be okay, better than okay. I want to tell her that the freedom that feels terrifying at this moment will become her greatest blessing. Because I arrived alone at that wedding, and my family burst into laughter. They thought they were laughing at me, at my loneliness, at my failure, at my inability to keep a man like Daniela. But they didn't understand that being alone and being complete are not opposites, that you can arrive alone anywhere and still be full of love, just from the right people. That laughter that shattered me in that moment, I now see differently. It wasn't a humiliation. It was a liberation. The final push I needed to let go of the chains of a family that never valued me. My family thought they were taking everything from me, but by walking away, I didn't lose a family. I gained my life. And this life I built from the ashes of what I thought I was supposed to be, is more beautiful than I ever imagined. So yes, I arrived alone at my sister's wedding, and my family burst into laughter. But the last laugh is mine. Because I discovered I didn't need their approval. I didn't need their conditional love. I didn't need to prove anything to them. I just needed to choose myself. And finally, after 32 years, I did.